The ACC has changed drastically over the last few years. Roy Williams, Coach K, and Jim Boeheim all retired. And it seemed like Leonard Hamilton is probably near the end of his career. Every other fan base was eyeing Coach K leaving as a chance for Duke to fall off. But Jon Scheyer had stayed under Coach K's wing and learned from him. But he's also willing to be his own coach. When Jon Scheyer took over, he said he was going to change how Duke recruits, prioritizing roster continuity. Given Duke's history of one-and-done freshmen and the landscape created by the transfer portal, fans may have been understandably skeptical. Going back the last decade, it seems like a lot of these teams really only get one shot. Whereas in the 90s, the early 2000s, teams could count on upperclassmen returning, getting multiple tries. We've seen teams recently with young superstars fall short and then look completely different the next year. Kentucky comes to mind. There are multiple teams from Kentucky come to mind there. But this 23-24 Duke roster is up to something. Their starting lineup last year featured one junior guard and 4 freshmen. And I honestly expected an exodus from this team following their run in March. I didn't know if any of these guys would be back. But 4 of them are. Don't forget to like and subscribe for the algorithm.
You see the time. Wittenberg, it's a long ways.
Draymond Green finds Lucius for the win. He got it.
One timeout, they don't take it.
He got it.
Gets it in. Booker gets it off.
This one's good if it goes. Holy cow!
Starting with Kyle Filipowski. He didn't go one and done. Instead, he's returning for a sophomore campaign. He certainly could have been in the running to be a first-round pick this year in the NBA draft. But returning for a sophomore campaign will give him an opportunity to play his way into being a lottery pick. The 6'11" big is a fantastic passer and facilitator for his size. Anytime the ball's in his hands, there's a chance something special happens. The swing skill for Filipowski is the three-point shooting, which looked great early in the season, but continuously fell off. He finished his freshman season shooting just over 28% from behind the arc. However, his mechanics look great for a big, so there still should be a lot of optimism that he could become a quality floor spacer moving forward. Filipowski was able to play in the front court alongside another big this season, Derek Lively, who's projected to go in the first round, currently the 22nd best player in the draft, which isn't surprising since he was the number 2 best prospect out of high school last year. The other 2 freshmen who started this year, who are also coming back, are Tyrese Proctor, a 6'4" combo guard who is a natural scorer. He can score in isolation, get into the lane at will. He's got a smooth jumper with deep range, great ability to get his own shot. ESPN ranked him as the 30th best prospect in the draft, so instead of risking falling to the second round, he returned to Duke for one more season. Proctor has a nice frame and will add weight as he matures. He might not have ideal size for the shooting guard position, but the way the league is trending, that's less of a big deal than it was a few years ago. He's also a high-level athlete that elevates well, has no problem making plays above the rim. Proctor continues the line of high-level prospects coming out of Australia in recent years. And then there's Mark Mitchell, another future pro who looks the part of a first-round NBA draft pick. He's a big combo forward with great frame and a ton of natural talent. He's got broad shoulders, good strength, a quick first step, and solid feel for the game. He can operate on the perimeter and make plays off the dribble. He's a strong finisher, mostly with his left hand. At this point, his outside shooting isn't a strength, but he does show plenty of promise and isn't afraid to step out to three-point land. Mitchell fits the mold of the modern-day power forward, and his ability to defend multiple positions on defense and make plays with the ball in his hands on offense, he has potential to be a really, really good sophomore. Jeremy Roach did put his name in the NBA draft, and I thought for sure he was going to go. He has since said he will return to Duke for his senior season. Roach is a true lead guard with advanced playmaking skills. He plays with his head up, has great penetration ability, and excels at finding his teammates. He's not the biggest or most powerful around, but he's got an advanced skill level and more than enough athleticism to get by. Roach has great ball handling skills and penetration ability, has an advanced understanding of the game, and a great feel for operating within the offense. He scores well from the mid-range and in the lane, using floaters and pull-up jumpers. He is a committed defender who can get under the opponent's skin and impact the game on a defensive end. At the end of the day, Roach just isn't a top-tier NBA prospect, and while he will probably end up getting a two-way contract next year, his best opportunity was to come back where he can be deadly in the SEC this coming season. So Duke brings back 4 big-time starters. But that's not all. I mean, this is Duke. You know they probably had some decent recruiting class, maybe top 10. Wait, they have the number 2 class behind Kentucky? Yeah, they do. Before freshmen, though, we should cover transfers. First and foremost, there's Neil Begovic. He was a walk-on at Stanford who averaged 1 point per game last year. Hold on. Gotta check my notes. Oh yeah, he's a grad transfer who's here to play school. But seriously, good for him. He's going to get a great graduate degree here at Duke, and he might even get a ring out of this. For real though, Duke adds center Ernest Udeh Jr. from Kansas. Udeh Jr. is a strong and powerful interior force who has some very clearly defined roles on the court, and does a great job at playing within those roles. He's a great rebounder and interior defender who changes the game even if he doesn't fill up the box score. On offense, he shows really good awareness and skill as a screener, and is always a lob threat rolling to the basket. He doesn't need touches on offense, but helps the team in a multitude of ways. He's a physical specimen with incredible brute strength and excellent agility for a player his size. He only averaged 8 minutes a game at Kansas and had a career-high 10 points. With a spot open from Derek Lively going pro, he should have a big opportunity here. Huge get for Duke. As for those incoming freshmen, they have 4 top 20 players. Like, I've heard all the talk about how Kentucky is just stacked because of recruiting this year, but look at what we just talked about what Duke has. And now they're adding a recruiting class. I don't think Kentucky's got that going for them. TJ Power, a 6'8" forward, is the number 19 player in the 2023 class. While he's been a high major prospect for years now, his recruitment blew up this summer, in correlation with the gains he made as a three-point shooter within the last year. As he is now stretching the floor with accurate consistency, that shot-making ability complements other well-rounded ball skills that he can already take the ball off the glass, start the break himself, and is a heady passer. Power is a well-rounded athlete with mobility and agility at a size that makes him fluid on both ends of the floor. He's a fifth-year senior, so a little older at his grade, and that should give him an edge up for playing as a freshman. Caleb Foster, a 6'5" combo guard, the number 18 player in the class. No guard in the country put up better numbers than Foster did in the month of July, with over 25 points and nearly 5 assists per game. He's a bigger guard with good size, strength, and seemingly long arms. He's not going to overwhelm you with his athleticism, but he has terrific balance and a versatile attack that allows him to be a multi-level threat while still playing within the flow of the game. He may not have a mechanically pure release on his jumper, but has evolved into an undeniably tough shot maker with threes, pull-ups, little step backs, and soft runners all in his bag. He has combo moves off the dribble, uses his body well once he gets his defender on his hip, and terrific body control in the lane. He's playing with more of a scoring mentality right now, but has a good natural feel for the game, and is both a capable and willing passer. He also doesn't get sped up as a handler, and projects as a good pick and roll player because of his versatility and ability to make reads. Defensively, it remains to be seen if he'll have a hard time containing smaller and quicker guards, especially in open space. Sean Stewart, 6'8" power forward, the number 16 player. What he might lack in sheer height, he compensates with power, physicality, and leaping ability. He's a high-volume rebounder and strong finisher. He can elevate through traffic to pursue both the ball off the glass and finish above the rim. He's also proven to be a defensive playmaker who can both block shots and generate steals. The most deceptive part of Stewart's game is his mobility and defensive versatility, but it often comes in correlation to the freshness of his legs. With USA Basketball, he showed he could slide his feet, defend guards on the perimeter, even in open space. He's also capable of running the floor exceptionally well, with fast and powerful strides. Offensively, his game is a work in progress. He's not yet considered a floor spacer, although he tries to force it sometimes, but he can get downhill and elevate to score over top of a defender in the post. Overall, he needs to keep evolving offensively, but there's potential for extreme defensive impact and versatility in that coming into his freshman year. And finally, Jared McCain. 6'2" combo guard, the number 12 player in the class. McCain is a skilled and efficient guard whose most obvious value at the next level comes as a spot-up shooter and floor spacer. He's efficient within the offensive structure. He has a very compact release on his jumper and almost no dip prior to release. That gives him added gravity around the arc. McCain also plays with a high IQ, understanding spacing, the value of the ball. He's shown some flashes of shot creation this summer, specifically with utilizing ball screens, and could be a pick and roll threat on the second side of the floor at the next level. While he's not a naturally explosive athlete, he's a positional defender who's going to be in all the right spots and be able to execute a scouting report. But that's not all, though. Duke lost 0 players in the transfer portal. Scheyer convinced former 4-star recruits Jalen Blakes, Jaden Schutt, and Christian Reeves, all of whom fell out of Duke's rotation by the end of the season, to return and fight for their role this upcoming season rather than leave for guaranteed playing time elsewhere. Jalen Blakes, a rising junior guard who has slowly increased his minutes and played every year, and instead of leaving to be a starter elsewhere, will be a great depth behind Roach and McCain. While he doesn't have high season averages, he did play in big games against tough ACC opponents last year. And if he isn't a big contributor, he will be a safe veteran to lean on to give guys breathers. Jaden Schutt will be a sophomore shooting guard. He only played 14 games his freshman season, but he did see some limited minutes in the ACC tournament. It didn't show last year, but he's a knockdown shooter who is comfortable and confident making shots coming off pin downs or staggers. Whether off balance or when his feet are set, opponents are likely to grab the ball out of the net on most of those attempts. Schutt really shows impressive footwork when utilizing rhythm off the dribble, spotting up, or moving without the ball. He may not be the most quick or athletic, but he is tough and smart. Coming back, hopefully he improves and adds more of that shooting to Duke's rotation next season. Like Schutt, Christian Reeves only played in 13 games as a freshman. He is a traditional big whose game didn't stretch the floor. He saw limited minutes last year with Derek Lively, leaving he should see more this year. It will be interesting to see if he tries to add any outside shot to his game in the offseason though. Going into the 23-24 season, Duke has 4 starters coming back, 3 solid rotational players. They bring in 1 high-profile transfer, and the addition of 4 high-profile freshman recruits. This might be the best team in the ACC. This might be the best team in the NCAA. Last year, Duke had a second-round exit versus Tennessee, where they fell behind at the end of the first half and just could never really battle back. This team brings back so much depth and talent, it's hard to see a scenario where they're not playing in the second weekend of the NCAA this year, if not beyond. Duke has a great out-of-conference schedule next season, hosting Arizona early in the season, Michigan State at a neutral site game in Chicago, playing Baylor in Madison Square Garden, and then another SEC opponent that's still to be announced. By the time March rolls around, this team will have already basically had the experience of a late-round tournament game playing in neutral sites in Chicago at Madison Square Garden. They've done well setting this team up for success. They've brought back the pieces they need. They've brought in more pieces who can contribute. This is absolutely a team who I think has the ability to win the entire thing come next March. I think they do too. It's going to be fun to watch.